Friends out there, we covered creativity today as it relates to mental health challenges. We covered faith, and we also covered hospitals and being in the hospital when you're having a mental health crisis. So I hope you guys all listen, and I hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed creating it for you. Thank you.
And we're live with episode 4 of the Undiagnosed Shamans. Here's Mark and Alberto.
I'm Mark, and I'm happy to be here. That's it. Podcast's over, dude.
It's done.
It's done.
We can clock out now. We've done our deed.
Let's discuss what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, man. So it was really good having Steve on last time. Hopefully everybody got a chance to check out the link and get the trailer for his movie.
Found, right?
Yeah, found the movie. Good
found
stuff.
The movie.
Man.
He's gonna make a movie.
It's got a really good topic, I think, of like advocating for the homeless and really thinking about the reasons and the struggles that they go through. I think is really meaningful.
Yeah, it was a good conversation that we had with him. But tonight it's just me and you.
Yeah, man. The OG crowd.
The Undiagnosed Shamans, the U.S.
Hey, man, what are your thoughts about the nature of creativity and mental health?
I have a really good example of that. Like when I was manic, or I would say hypomanic. When I was traveling the road doing stand-up for like a week at a time here and there, I would write jokes while I was driving with a Sharpie on the back of the MapQuest, because it was MapQuest back then. That's how long ago I was doing it. But that was crazy, man. Driving and trying to write a joke out with a Sharpie and like the tops of the maps and the bottoms of the maps, and just like all on the sides and stuff. That's kind of manic-y, right?
It sounds like you had so many ideas and so many like inspirations coming at you all at once that you needed to get it out.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's pouring out of you.
I should have just had a recorder with me and the technology was definitely there back then. It would have been a much of a safer way of going about that.
Yeah. And I know, like, when I'm in a position like that, when I'm feeling that way, logic tends to run thin.
Goes out the window.
Yeah, man.
What is when do you find yourself most creative? Like, what are you doing? Some people say it's in the shower or.
You know what? That's a good question because, like, for me, when I'm in a mood, I actually feel like I am creative both when I'm hypomanic and I'm in an accelerated type of mindset. But sometimes when I'm like really like having a hard time, like emotionally, and I'm having a lot of struggles in life, I tend to write music it comes from a really profound place, even if I'm not feeling anything specific or if I'm feeling numb. It's almost like it's independent in a way of creativity is independent of how you're feeling and more of like you're energetic where you are energetically at that point in life, I think.
Yeah.
You ever thought about it that way, or you kind of relate to that at all?
I was writing something down, man.
That's all right, dude.
What could we go back?
Yeah. So basically I was saying that I feel like when I'm in a bad place I can write great music, or if I'm in a hypomanic state where my thoughts are really fast and I'm really like pumping the energy, I write just differently, but it's still very inspired almost, and it comes from a different energetic place, almost like this independent of how you're feeling.
Yeah, I don't write much when I'm depressed. I think like depression really puts a damper on just about anything creative when I'm trying to be creative. But
would you say that it affects the quality of what you're putting out, or is it just mostly kind of noise?
I'm not inspired when I'm depressed.
I mean, like when you're hypomanic, when your quality or material better when you're in that state.
I think so. I think you're like tapped into a higher consciousness at that point.
Yeah.
And you get the flow of, because people used to ask me that all the time, like, where do you come up with these jokes? How do you come up with these jokes? And I don't know. I just think about them all. It's just, that's my train of thought is like, ever since I was like in 4th grade or something, I'm trying to make everybody laugh. Like, your mind is conditioned itself over the decades on how to compose a joke and what's funny, and
Do you find meaning from your creativity around comedy? Like, do you find like it brings you healing or joy or kind of meaningful out of it? Anything meaningful out of it?
I think my comedy used to be pretty mean. Like, looking back on it, I don't know if you can agree with that, because you were kind of a part of that and a part of like the comedy stuff in the past. Like, we used to do the Windchime Band and all that.
Yeah.
But I go back and listen to some of my old stuff, and I'm like, that is really mean.
It was funny though.
It was funny at the time, but like,
it was very.
I don't know why I was so mean.
It would not stand up to today's
scrutiny. No, it would
at
not.
all.
No. I had been canceled a long time ago.
Very much so. That Dick Goddard joke. That Dick Goddard joke did get me pretty good, though. I still think about it to this day.
If he got any closer to retirement, he'd be dead. And then he died, and then the joke died with it.
Still, though, it was good. It's like the Dick Clark joke, too. Almost like you can almost say the same thing about Dick Clark.
Is he still alive?
No, he's long gone.
He finally died?
I thought he was long gone. It's the guy Ryan Seacrest up there.
Yeah, Ryan took over. Brian or Ryan? Ryan Seacrest.
I think so.
Yeah, he took his job.
For me, for music, my creativity runs with music, and even stuff like writing. When I write short stories or poetry, or if I'm thinking about more visual elements, or even making like videos for my Instagram, I find a lot of like catharsis in that. Like just because I'm like, I write healing music to help other people heal, but in a way I'm also healing myself. So it's definitely goes both ways. And I think my mood disorder has a big contributing factor to doing all that. Not just because it heals me, but because it drives it too. It's almost like the mood disorder makes me naturally healing mentality. Like, I naturally want to heal others because of my mood disorder, which is interesting. I didn't, I think just talking about it out loud helped you figure it out. Kind of, why do I do stuff like that, kind of thing.
Yeah. In 2008, I was in a creative writing class at a creative nonfiction class at Cleveland State.
Yeah.
It was a night class that I took after work, and I wrote a 30-page paper, a true story about my mania and stuff over the years, and I want to like expound that into a book, but I started in 2008. It's like, when am I going to finish this? It starts to like, I've been talking about it for a decade. Like, yeah, like this was 2008. Is it 15 some years ago maybe?
It's been
more.
A bit.
Yeah, 16 years ago.
2008.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's time to finish this book, man. You got to give me some pushes.
Would you say it's a concentration issue?
I have trouble remembering manic episodes past 2014.
Yeah.
I know I had probably 6 or so after that.
Yeah.
And they all kind of like meld together. There was no like set things that separate them, other than the 2015 on Friday the 13th of November 13th, 2015. I remember that distinctively, having that vision in my bedroom over the bed, in me and my wife's bedroom. But that was profound. I thought I saw the battle of like good and evil above.
I remember that. Tell me about that.
And then I was like, well, if this is the battle of good and evil, then let's cast the devil into the abyss. And that's when he like took over the hallucination.
Yeah.
And didn't go away for a month, dude. A month of seeing that everywhere. Seeing it in people's faces, on your computer screen.
Hey, let me ask
the
you a
floor.
question about that.
Yeah.
Do you? So, first question is before anything. Do you feel like you've recovered from that?
Yes.
Okay. Second question to follow up that is: do you feel like that whole scenario with seeing the devil and other type of like conflict of good versus evil? Do you feel like that helped you process anything in your mind going through all that? Did it have a bigger purpose than just struggling with it at the time?
Uh, the whole time I was trying to figure out how to make it stop. And I
Yeah.
would call upon, Jesus, call upon all kind of higher powers, and nothing would.
Yeah.
No. So I think it's like something I had to go through. I'm getting tingles just thinking about it because this must be, yeah. So the only thing that made it go away, I don't know if you remember that, was me going on Facebook and posting the picture of what I thought was the devil in the clouds out of my bedroom window.
Yeah.
And then I wrote in there whatever, all the things that were happening to me. I just like, this stuff I would usually keep to myself, but I was like
Sure.
up against a wall, dude, a whole month of seeing this thing like
Yeah.
constantly. It really messes with your head. So it went away after I asked for prayers and intentions from people on Facebook. It went away like the next day, or it kind of like slowly went away in the next couple days after that. That's the only thing that made it stop.
Do you think that that post kind of meant that was it like a forgiving yourself kind of thing, or where did it come from in your heart? Was it like a
Desperation.
desperation?
Yeah.
So you was opening up like the contributing factor to going through that healing. That's what got you through the from one edge to the other.
I think so. I think professing it and like putting it out there into the ether, the cosmos, and then people must have prayed or they must have thrown positive intentions my way. Otherwise, I think I'd still be dealing with it today probably if I didn't like make a bold move like that.
Huh.
Like that's family and everybody like calling you up and being like, "What's going on, man? I saw your post." And
yeah, I'm sure your mom prayed for you.
yeah, she didn't know what to do.
Dude, she probably got you through all that.
Yeah, my mom was very religious, as you know, very Catholic, devout Catholic. Yeah. Sometimes I think that when you press your religion onto like a child when they're young, I think sometimes you can get like blowback from that. I think that's what happened with me.
What do you mean by blowback?
Like she was always trying to like instill our Italian heritage into us, and I was always kind of like not foo-fooing it, but like just trying to be like, what's this all about? I'm American, like because you're Puerto Rican Americans or American Puerto Rican, whatever you call it. Did you go through that too as like a child? Like your parents trying to instill that non-American values on you, kind of?
No, because I wasn't born here. So for me, it wasn't like.
When you did come over though into America,
I was. So there's a big difference between Latin culture and Italian culture. The Latin culture doesn't assimilate as well into American culture as Italian culture does. Like typically, an Italian American person is indistinguishable from any other external culture, like the Irish or the Scottish or the Russian or whatever. Maybe a Russian to a lesser extent. But I think Latin cultures tend to stand out more and they tend to clump together more. So that I would say, for me specifically, not as much because I was already, like, it wasn't something external to me that when I was little that I was being pushed into me. It was just the culture.
Yeah, you were just immersed in it.
I was already immersed in it. I would say generally from what I've seen as far as like everybody else who was born here as second generation, there's still, I don't know, I think Latin people generally don't assimilate as well. We want to speak our own languages and eat our own foods and stuff, and it's, you don't really see a lot of Italian people speaking Italian in the streets in this country. You see a lot of people speaking Spanish in certain areas of certain cities, but not Italian. I
Yeah.
think it's just an assimilation thing.
My aunt and uncle in Chicago, they lived there for years and they never spoke English.
Yeah.
Like just like really broken English if they spoke any at all, which I thought was amazing. Like how can you like just speak Italian all the time and still get by, you know? Like,
Italian's really cool.
They found
though.
a way, yeah.
I really like Italian as a language.
Yeah.
It's very similar to Spanish. It's I could read a little bit of Italian and kind of get the gist of it, even though I never really learned Italian. It's really close to Spanish. I can do that to a certain extent with Portuguese, but it's not as easy with Portuguese because a lot of the pronunciation is different in Portuguese.
I took Italian in college for
Did you?
a couple weeks and I couldn't do it, so I skipped this. I don't know, what did I do? I just got rid of the elective. Like I didn't get that for my major. They let it go because I couldn't pass any of the language classes. I was just like, my mind doesn't work that way or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question going back to your situation with seeing those faces. Do you feel like going through that healing, was it a spiritual healing or was it a psychiatric, like that you got treatment? Like, was there any treatment behind that in the background, like with your doctors and stuff?
Dude, they were baffled. They couldn't help. They put me on Seroquel.
Yeah.
Like that was all they did. That was all they could do.
Couldn't figure it out.
No, you're bipolar type 1, but you're also hallucinating constantly. It's like
You probably weren't manic, so they couldn't explain it away without a mania, right?
yeah. I wasn't manic going into that evening on the Friday the 13th, November 13th, 2015. So it's like,
I know a lot of people tend to feel like if you pray enough, or if you meditate enough, or if you do certain things that are of a spiritual nature, that the mental illness would just go away. And what are your thoughts behind like spiritual versus like Western medicine type of thing for mental health?
you mean like the way America does it and the way the rest of the world or some of the other countries do it?
I mean, like, what are your thoughts about people saying if you pray hard enough, your mental illness will go away?
There's got to be some, tangible stuff going on there because prayer is, where two or more people pray on the same thing, it's like it's done, right? Like that's what it says somewhere in the Bible. I don't know, but I've heard that from people that just two or more have the same intention or prayer, like that's all you need.
Yeah.
So I think prayer can definitely help.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt. I don't know that it would entirely heal you unless you maybe prayed upon it on a long scale, like just every day maybe, until it pray the insanity away.
When I was really young, probably like 12 or 13, I had this idea that if I prayed hard enough, that all the stuff I was going through at the time would go away. And the harder I prayed, the more difficult life became with the mental illness. So I'm a very strong believer that prayers and stuff like that, and drinking herbs and doing incantations won't take any voices away, won't take anything like that away. I think there can be spiritual healing from mental illness. I think it's extraordinarily rare. I think the hyper religiosity type of mentality is very common, and I've seen it with our clients working in peer support, like people who get really hyper religious and like kind of get really deep into that kind of faith. To me, isn't authentic. It comes from a place of brokenness, as far as like your thought processes and your emotional state. It doesn't really come from a place of sane, logical decision making, which to me is not an authentic expression of faith.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when it comes to mental health, the initial front has to be some sort of medical care. Do I think medical care as it is today, or even in the 90s when I was getting treatment, I don't think it's, I think it's very much subpar. It's very dehumanizing in many ways.
The Western way of
Western
psychiatry.
ways of psychiatry is
yeah.
dehumanizing in many ways.
Yeah, they put us in restraints in the 90s. They probably still do in some places, but that was rough being in 5-point restraints.
Yeah, it has to be.
You can't even like barely scratch your own nose.
You can't barely breathe. Freaking out.
And then the nurses have to feed you.
Dude, that's awful.
They get power trippy. Some of them. It's just it was.
You treated worse than a criminal.
Yeah, it was rough. But something that came up when you were just talking, I thought about was, you ever heard that Bible verse where he who was first shall be last, and he who is last shall be first? What does that mean to you?
That to me means it's goes along with other parts of scripture when it says like the rich man, it's harder for a rich man to get into heaven type of thing.
The eye of the needle one,
yeah,
where the camel.
It's a humility thing. It's like those who are the meek people, the people that are lowly, are you know, they're the ones who will be exalted.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the.
They will be first.
Right.
Yeah. That's how I feel about it too. Like the homeless and whoever's suffering the most will be the first to.
Yeah. You and I have seen a lot of suffering working in peer support.
Definitely.
And we've seen people living in awful conditions, and I think that verse refers to the people like them who, when the time comes and their time comes, or the end times, even when we'll all be judged, that's when we're kind of like our humility. And, I think people who are rich also financially can live in a state of mind that's humble too. So I don't think necessarily it's a wealth of finances. It's more of a wealth of like almost like the haughty hubris, like arrogance that I'm better than other people kind of thing. I think people can be meek even though they have money as well. So.
That's why I'm not really driven by financial.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can pay my bills, I'm fine. Like I don't need to make extra money. Or I look at some of the other people in my life that are taking all these nice trips to different places and different countries. I'm like, wow, I would kind of like money for that, but if I don't, I'm still happy. Or I can go camping or something, less expensive locally, and still have the same kind of benefit.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm kind of in the place in life right now where I don't like it that I'm not super wealthy, to be honest. Like, I want to be able to have the freedom that if I want to go on vacation tomorrow or send my son to like a Montessori school or something, or some sort of like a private school or a Montessori school or something, that I have that option, not stress out about it. I do feel like working in like a mental health, social services kind of thing, where you're not making what a doctor makes, or like even an engineer or anything like that. It's definitely right now it's stressing me out. I kind of think about it way too much.
Yeah, you know what that does? It blocks your ability to get into abundance, like financially. That's what I've been getting with my angel numbers lately. Is they say every time you focus on the have-nots and you want this and you want that and you don't have enough for this, you don't have enough for that, like it blocks the abundance the universe is trying to send your way.
Interesting. I have been feeling more and more recently, like in the past week, that to just really cherish what I have now.
There you go.
And not really
gratitude, man.
And not stress out about what I don't have. And I don't mean that just financially, just with everything. Like, I'm alive. I have my health.
Be grateful for that.
Like, it's definitely a learning process.
Gratitude is a powerful thing, man. I talk about trying to start my day with that, and I do it very, like, I snooze too much, and then I just like thank God for this day, and then I kind of go about my day, and it's not really enough to be grateful for. I think I need to like spend like 15 minutes in the morning just going over all the things I'm grateful for every day, and those things will exponentially improve every day, I think, as long as you're got that mindset.
Huh.
Yeah, things will happen faster for you. That's what my angel numbers keep telling me, so.
I have to remember that.
And you sent me that thing about the girl that said angel numbers aren't something you're supposed to be looking up, and I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, I think, like, you should look them up, because if you don't look them up, then you don't know what they're all about, and then you don't know how to, you know, it's like you're missing out on free information.
I don't really remember sending you. I mean, I remember sending you that, but I don't remember what it was. I have to relook at it again. I do think that depending on what your faith is, if you're a Christian, angel numbers tend to lean into numerology.
Okay.
So for me, I try to. Yeah, numerology is seen as a divination, which is seen as not a good thing. But for me, since I am a Christian, but I do like angel numbers.
Yeah.
I just try to be really very intentional and very okay, I've seen this number 50 times today. I try to, my threshold for something to be an angel number is very high. It's got to be really, really obvious for me to pay attention to it. So that now I know something is trying to communicate with me, rather than me having that confirmation bias that everything is an angel number kind of thing, and I'm trying to dig into stuff that's more of a divination kind of thing than communication.
Yeah. Like when I'm at a store and my total of my bill is $47.47, I gotta look that up.
Yeah.
So it's just, even if I see it once, I look it up just because it's something to do and it gives you good information.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Sacred Scribes, Joanne is the one I look up.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're all free. Shouldn't charge you for any of that.
I think a lot of those free, they all seem they all seem very similar to me. I wonder if it's a better resource on how to figure it out yourself kind of thing. Like a guide to piecing angel numbers together.
Yeah.
Because these folks have to get that information from somewhere, right?
Maybe they just dial in to channel it. Maybe. Yeah. Because they're always spot on. I've never gotten an angel number that I was like, this one doesn't make any sense. They've always been spot on.
I guess it's got to be more personalized to you than a newspaper plain dealer horoscope, right?
Yeah. I really enjoy looking them up and trying to... Sometimes I get too many in one day. I mean, that's not something you should really complain about. But
yeah.
And then I have trouble, researching all of them in one day, and I kind of poo-poo, and I write them down on my hand, the back of my hand while I'm driving, which is bad, but I don't know how else to remember.
Are you into horoscope personality type of stuff? Your sign tells you you're this kind of person?
Not really.
Yeah.
No. I feel like angel numbers are better than that. Because you're getting stuff right in real time.
Sure.
Like if I play the lotto and then I get an angel number after that, it says you're spending too much time looking at financials and you're stopping the abundance from coming to you. You're thinking about the nots and the have-nots and the wants and stuff. So, like I said earlier, so. But I think we wanted to talk about familiar relationships dealing with mental illness, of your family and...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I wanted to say that my ex-wife had 3 reasons why she left me, and one of the reasons was she was afraid that I was going to have another manic episode, and she only went through one of them in 2005, which was a real big one, but she just kept... And then we split up in, I think, 2009, so... The relationship didn't last too long after that 2005 manic episode, but you just got to find the right person in your life and I have that now, who will put up with things that aren't my fault, Just
sure.
mental health challenges that I face with bipolar type 1 is not my fault. I didn't sign on for this, but like, I think we've talked about this. I think it's a plus rather than a negative. Like, I think you get a lot of gifts from your mental health challenges when it comes to, like, my bipolar type 1 issues. Like, I feel like they're positives. Like, some of them are definitely positives. The aggravation that you get sometimes when you're psychotic, and that's not good. But every time I have another manic episode, I always think, like, the next one I'll be able to handle it. Like, I'll be able to steer out of I won't have to go to the hospital. I'll just be able to know in my heart that I can, steer in the right direction. But it always goes haywire. Like, by day 2 or day 3, not sleeping, things go bad, off the rails.
Yeah, I think it makes us definitely more intense kind of people. I think a lot of people can't handle that.
No, I've lost a lot of friendships over the years.
So it's more like about meeting the right crowd than.
I think it weeds out the friends in your life that aren't really that great of friends. It kind of weeds them out.
We saw the bad friends, or the friends that are not real.
Yeah. The ones that blame you for it are the ones that usually fall on the wayside, because it's not like I said, it's not our fault.
As far as romantic relationships, though, that's got to be the right fit too. And oftentimes, I don't know. It seems like people who have struggled with it understand each other better, end up being together with somebody who also has their own recovery story, kind of thing. Maybe.
Yeah, it's like the most comfortable I feel is when I'm in the hospital around other people that are having similar issues at the same time. It's like I get more out of being around them than I do out of the groups most of the time. Like, the downtime that you have when you're having snack, or when you're just playing chess or playing cards or whatever, drawing or coloring. Those downtimes is when you're meeting new people and that come in, people come and go.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a very
that's cool.
Most times it's a very, like, healing environment. But of course there's hospitals that aren't like that, and that I've been through that are bad. Well, my experience there was bad, probably mostly because I was in a bad psychotic kind of mindset.
When you're in the hospital with these folks, do you feel like it's like an energetic connection you feel?
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
In the same wavelength kind of thing?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's uncanny.
Yeah.
Feels good to be in the hospital for me, as long as it's the right hospital. Like, it's just a very healing environment, I think, most of the time. Like, we've talked about soterias and stuff, and me and you have had those conversations, but I wish there was an alternative to the regular hospital, like an unlocked facility that...
There's got to be eventually an option B and an option C, because an immediate locked inpatient unit can't be the only answer for every time you have a crisis. And there are no other options right now that I know of for that kind of situation.
We should start our own, man.
Sanctuary, dude. I thought about this idea and don't. It's kind of one of those things that nobody's gonna jump in on. Like,
nobody's gonna insure that place.
Yeah,
right.
Like, Adam's Board is not gonna want to go in on it.
No,
nobody's gonna want to go in on it, and I totally understand that. The whole idea you had with the earth chips was pretty good too.
Yeah.
You have all these ideas that to help people have more options than just hospital. They're good, but they're also like nobody wants to fund something they can't themselves profit from. If that makes sense.
Yeah. The idea with the Earthship thing was to have it in neighborhoods that were blighted, and then where you could get the land for really cheap, and maybe you could knock down like 8 houses in a row that were really, bad houses that were unable to fix up, and then you could build these Earthships, which anybody can go out and research what an Earthship is, but it's basically a self-sustained off-grid home. And my plan was to like do that in Cleveland somewhere, and have people from the shelter like go there and help build it, and then when it's done being built, when I say shelter, I mean homeless shelter, and we would just like go there every day, work on the, work with a real builder, and then we would kind of assist that builder. And then when the place is all done and pristine and ready to be moved in, the people that worked on it would move into it.
Yeah.
And they would stay there as long as they, followed all the whatever rules or guidelines you'd have to set up just to protect the protect the buildings. But maybe I'll do that someday. I don't know, but it was something I was really into for years, thinking about it and trying to get it off the ground.
It's a big idea.